While roasting Easter lamb for my wife's 30th birthday, I went to the basement for wine glasses and overheard her say, "He's just a placeholder with good credit. My lawyer says I'll walk with half." I came back upstairs smiling and served everyone dinner. 2 weeks later, I played her voice on a rooftop speaker in front of her whole family. Hosting Easter dinner for Zoe's family had become tradition. And not just any dinner, a full Greek Orthodox spread, with a whole lamb on the spit, roasted slowly over open flame in the backyard like her grandfather used to do. Her uncles would usually commandeer the grill, but this year, for some reason, she wanted me to do it. "You're good at that rustic, man-of-the-house stuff," she said, handing me the marinade bowl like it was a crown. So I leaned into it. I wore my crisp white button-up, sleeves rolled to the elbows. Hair combed back, beard trimmed tight. Zoe picked out my apron, navy blue, stitched with "Yes, Chef," in silver cursive. Her little inside joke about how I binge cooking shows but always burn pancakes. I chuckled, kissed her cheek, and started prepping the lamb. Her family arrived in waves, like they always did, hugs, kisses, big voices, heavy perfume. Tzatziki in plastic containers. And Uncle bringing ouzo like he was smuggling contraband. Laughter filled the air before the lamb even hit the fire. I should have felt proud. I did, for about 30 minutes. Then I went down to the basement. It was a small thing. We needed more wine glasses. Some of hers were still packed in the moving boxes she never fully unpacked from when she temporarily moved her studio into the guest room. She kept saying she'd get around to it. I didn't press it. Back then, I didn't press a lot of things. The basement was half finished, half storage, and always a little colder than the rest of the house. I took the old stairs 2 at a time and landed on the concrete floor with a light thud. As I bent to rummage through the wineglass box, I heard voices through the HVAC vent that led up to the guest bathroom. Zoe's voice. And her cousin Melina's. "He's sweet, but so basic," Zoe was saying, her tone lower, hushed but clear through the vent. "Like, store-brand love. I need to get out before I turn 30 and wake up still married to a guy who uses coupons for fun." Laughter. Melina's sharp and snorting. I froze. One hand on the box, the other bracing against the cold floor. Then Zoe's voice again. Like a blade slicing through cotton. "But hey, his credit's clean. My lawyer says I'll walk away with enough to float the studio for a year. Worth it, right?" The world didn't spin. No panic. Just stillness. The kind that feels like standing in a quiet street after the power goes out. I didn't drop the box. Didn't storm upstairs. I found 4 wine glasses, tucked them into the crook of my arm, and walked back up as if nothing had happened. My face wore the same smile it had worn every Easter before. Zoe saw me and smiled, walking over with a plate of Kalarakia cookies. "Found them?" "Yep," I said, handing them to her. "Didn't break a single one." We kissed. The lamb roasted. Her uncle poured me a glass of wine and clapped my back like I was already part of their family tree. But something inside me had shifted. Not cracked. Just moved. Quietly. And so I started the performance of my life. The next morning, I woke up before Zoe. She looked peaceful, buried under our linen sheets with the morning sun falling across her shoulder. A strand of her hair curled across her cheek. She looked soft. But I wasn't looking at her the same way anymore. That Easter morning was the first time I felt like a ghost in my own life. I made coffee, fried eggs, toasted bread just how she liked, light brown, a dab of butter, no jam. She smiled when she walked in, sleep in her voice. "Breakfast in bed," she teased. I smiled back. "Nah. Kitchen service only today." We ate together. She told me about a new client, some skincare brand that wanted her to design minimalist packaging. I nodded, asked smart questions, listened like always. I laughed at the right times. But all the while, I watched her. Watched how easily she moved through this life with me, as if she hadn't whispered my expiration date the day before. And that's when I knew this wasn't going to be a fight. It wasn't going to be a confrontation. It was going to be a stage. I played my role well. I called my bank first thing Monday and scheduled a meeting. Transferred part of my savings into a high-yield account under a trust one Zoe didn't know existed. I contacted a lawyer, paid for the initial consultation in cash, and asked about spousal support laws in our state. Then I called Nathan. Nathan and I went to college together. He now runs a cybersecurity business and once helped a company CEO catch an embezzling employee. When I told him I wanted to know what was happening on my wife's phone, he didn't ask questions. "Got a backup of her iCloud?" he asked. "Can get it tonight," I said. "Cool. I'll walk you through cloning her device. You'll see everything she does, in real time." It was disturbingly easy. That night, while she was in the shower, I borrowed her phone. Just synced it to an old laptop. Didn't snoop. Not yet. I wasn't aftershock. I was building a case. Over the next 2 weeks, I lived 2 lives. One where I was the same predictable husband helping her brainstorm her rebrand, cooking, laughing at the dumb Netflix show she loved. And the other where I was building a fortress. I started noting her calendar entries. Late night meetings. Brunches that turned into 5-hour blocks on her location history. Her texts with Melina were filled with mockery. He still thinks I'm overwhelmed by wedding planning. Face with rolling eyes. Honestly, at this point, I deserve an Oscar. It hurt. But not in the way she probably hoped. No, it didn't gut me. It hardened me. I started keeping a log. Dates, quotes, financial transfers she made without telling me. Studio equipment she billed to our joint credit card, then wrote off under her business account. Slowly, methodically, she was trying to bleed me dry before the kill. She wanted a clean exit, with a hero story for her friends. So I let her keep planning it. Let her think I was still in the fog, still happy to be her quiet little fallback. But in my mind, I was no longer planning Easter dinner. I was planning an execution. By the end of April, I could recite Zoe's routine better than she could. Brunch on Saturdays with the branding girls. Weekly Zoom calls labeled yoga that somehow never lined up with the studio's actual class schedule. Every Tuesday, a coffee date with Ria, who, according to her synced calendar, had moved to Berlin 3 months ago. I kept the charade going. Made late dinners. Gave shoulder massages. Wrote her a note one morning and left it on the bathroom mirror. Still can't believe I get to wake up next to you. She texted me 3 heart emojis that afternoon. She still thought I was asleep. But the truth is, she was the one dreaming. The cracks started small. A little tension in her smile when she caught me using the office printer. I was printing bank statements and legal documents, hiding them in a locked drawer at work. A touch of paranoia when I asked about her cousin Melina visiting so often. She's helping with the rebrand, she said. We're brainstorming ideas. I nodded. She mentioned something interesting at Easter. Zoe paused mid-sip of her chamomile tea. Like what? Oh, just that you're lucky to have me, I said, smiling like I didn't mean anything by it. She gave a tight laugh. Melina's dramatic. You know that. I said nothing else. That was the first time I saw it, a hairline fracture in her confidence. Barely visible. But there. Around that time, she started snooping. I noticed it the night she went to bed early, then got back up an hour later for water. I watched from the hallway as she glanced at my laptop screen, touched the mousepad. I'd left it on a dummy budgeting spreadsheet. Boring. Harmless. She said nothing. Neither did I. Let her wonder. Let her fear the silence. Because fear, I'd come to learn, is louder when you don't confront it. I doubled down. Brought home flowers. Made dinner reservations just because. Took her to a wine tasting on the coast. We posed for a photo, her in a burnt orange dress, me in a tailored navy shirt. She posted it on Instagram with the caption, "When love tastes like Cabernet." Her followers loved it. The algorithm ate it up. Dozens of comments. But I knew behind that smile, she was starting to question what was real. She didn't know if I was still the man asleep at the wheel or someone watching from the shadows. And that was the plan. Zoe had built a fiction. A clean, curated version of herself. The ambitious creative trapped with a vanilla husband, sacrificing for her dreams. Her exit strategy was lined with pity and Pinterest quotes. But fiction falls apart when the characters stop playing their roles. I was no longer the placeholder. I was the narrator now. And she hadn't read the new script. Zoe's 30th birthday was the perfect opportunity. She insisted on planning the whole thing herself, typical, and reserved a rooftop bar in the city with a skyline view and overpriced cocktails. I offered to help. She waved me off. You just show up looking hot, she said, pecking me on the cheek. Everything else is handled. Handled. That word stayed with me. She ordered a towering cake. Had a Spotify playlist with all her college favorites. Invited everyone, friends, family, influencer-adjacent acquaintances from her design circles. She wore a backless emerald dress and heels that clicked with authority across the patio. I watched her float from group to group, laughing, hugging, taking selfies. She looked like a star. But I knew the truth. The birthday girl was hollowing from the inside out. 3 nights earlier, she'd tried snooping again. I'd left a password-protected document titled Exit Strategy open on my desktop. It contained nothing but a line from Shakespeare, "I will wear him in my heart's core, in my heart of heart, as I do thee." I heard her pacing that night. She didn't sleep. Good. By the time the rooftop event started, she was already fraying. I greeted guests, thanked her parents, took pictures with her old college roommate. I played the role of doting husband to perfection, my hand on the small of her back, the occasional kiss on the temple. All eyes on us. Just how she liked it. An hour in, someone rang a champagne glass with a spoon. A call for toasts. Her best friend gave one. Melina too, though her voice cracked halfway through. She'd been distant lately. Probably wondering when her own part in Zoe's scheme would get exposed. Then Zoe took the mic. She thanked everyone. Talked about growing up. Reinventing herself. About learning to choose herself in life, in love, in every room I walk into. Her voice trembled not from emotion, but from nerves. She was performing her pre-breakup eulogy. The soft launch of her exit. And to my husband, who, bless his patient heart, has never stopped believing in me. Everyone clapped. I waited a beat. Then reached for the mic. Mind if I say something? There were cheers. Laughter. Someone shouted, "You better." I cleared my throat, smiling warmly. Looked at her like I used to. To Zoe. The woman who turned our guest room into an art studio, my closet into a prop warehouse, and our shared life into a series of perfectly filtered moments. People laughed. You're driven. Talented. Dangerous with a Pinterest board. More laughs. But above all, you've taught me something valuable, that trust, like wine, takes time. And when it's gone bad, you can't fake the taste. That was when I pulled out the Bluetooth speaker. Synced it from my pocket. Zoe blinked. And then her voice filled the rooftop. He's sweet, but so basic. Like store-brand love. The recording played clearly, her vent monologue to Melina. The laughter. The part about clean credit. The lawyer. People froze. Champagne glasses hovered mid-air. Her mother's mouth hung open. Her father lowered his phone, face pale. Zoe stared at me. Eyes wide. 1,000 little screams behind them, none escaping her lips. I handed the mic back, slow and deliberate. To Zoe, I said again, raising my glass. May your next placeholder be less perceptive. I downed the wine. And walked out before the speaker finished playing her final line. Honestly, I deserve an Oscar. She didn't come home that night. Can't say I blame her. According to Melina's Instagram stories, which I watched from a burner account, they spent the evening holed up at a boutique hotel 2 neighborhoods over. Dimly lit selfies with captions like "Only real ones survive the fallout nail polish" and "We move different." They were still trying to spin it. Still thinking it was a scandal that could be glossed over with contour and cocktails. But they didn't understand this wasn't a PR problem. It was war. And I'd already won the first battle. The next morning, I changed every lock. Not just the front and back doors, the mailbox, the garage keypad, even the app that controlled the smart thermostat. I contacted the landlord. House was under my name only, despite her Instagram captions that called it "Our Little Castle," and had the lease rewritten to formally remove her. Then I sat at the kitchen table with my second cup of coffee and waited. She showed up around 10:45 a.m. No makeup. Last night's mascara in streaks. Hoodie that didn't belong to me. She pounded the door like a cop. I opened it halfway. "Morning," I said, taking another sip. "Are you serious with this?" Her voice was raw. Not rage. Panic. As a heart attack. "You can't just, this is my home too." "Not according to the lease," I said calmly, handing her a copy of the updated paperwork. She stared at it like it was a ransom note. "You're punishing me for a joke. You called me a placeholder with decent credit. You planned to bleed me dry before dumping me. That's not a joke, that's strategy." Her eyes filled. "I was venting. You weren't supposed to. Overhear it? Or expose it?" Silence. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You might want to check your phone. The bank's notified you about the closed joint account." Her mouth opened. "Closed. You're making a mistake. You think this is strength, but it's just cruelty dressed up in spreadsheets." I smiled, not unkindly. "Funny. I thought that's what you were doing when you built your escape plan on my dime." She tried to shove past me. I didn't move. "You have 1 hour to remove anything that's legally yours. Anything bought on our joint card stays." "I bought my entire studio setup with that card," she snapped. "And charged it to your business account," I replied. "Which makes it either marital fraud or tax fraud. Pick one." Her face drained of all color. She left. Came back an hour later with a rented van and Melina in tow. I stood in the driveway, arms crossed, while they loaded carefully labeled boxes and avoided my gaze. She tried to slam the door on her way out. It bounced off the frame and stayed ajar. Fitting, really. When the van pulled away, I walked inside. It was quiet. Empty. Mine. The space felt raw and strange, like a wound with clean stitches. I ordered takeout. Ate on the couch. Watched a show she always hated just because I could. Then I opened my laptop. The civil suit paperwork was almost ready. Because betrayal might be personal. But justice? That's just business. By the time the civil suit was filed, Zoe had already begun her apology tour. It started on socials. A long, cryptic caption under a black and white photo of her looking out a rainy window. Sometimes we don't realize what we had until we've burned the bridge with our own match. #healing. The comments were a mix of heart emojis, vague sympathy, and a few barbed questions she didn't answer. Then came the DMs. She used an old Gmail account to write me what was, I'm guessing, the 6th draft of an apology. Claimed she was under pressure, that her words were manipulated, and that she never meant to hurt me. But this time, she didn't deny anything. She didn't have to. The lawsuit was clear: misappropriation of marital funds. Fraud. Her business expenses, studio rent, design subscriptions, all funded by our joint account, then claimed as sole property deductions on her LLC filings. My lawyer made sure the paper trail looked like a roadmap to hell. We filed quietly. No court dramatics yet. But the effect? Immediate. Her website went offline for maintenance. Several brand collabs pulled their promos. Melina unfollowed her. That one made me laugh. And then, like a final cherry, Zoe's father called me. He'd been quiet through everything. I half expected him to show up at my door with threats or fists. Instead, he left a voicemail that lasted exactly 17 seconds. I saw the documents. I didn't raise her for this. I'm sorry, man. You deserved better. That voicemail? I kept it. Just like I kept the emails. The receipts. The screenshots. The wedding video. Because memories may fade, but evidence? Evidence gets preserved. But the real moment came 2 weeks later, at a mutual friend's art show. I didn't plan on going. But Nathan convinced me get out of the house. Flex the piece, he said. So I did. Button-down shirt. Clean shave. Quiet confidence. I wasn't there 15 minutes before I felt her eyes on me. She was in the far corner, hair darker now, glasses she didn't need perched on her nose. Trying to look new. Softer. Someone else. But her eyes didn't change. She made her way over. Hi. I turned, calm. Zoe. You look good. Thanks. Lawsuits and lamb roasts, hell of a skincare regimen. She laughed, almost a reflex. Then went quiet. I'm not going to ask you to drop it, she said. I know I don't deserve that. No, I said, you don't. But I want you to know. I wasn't always pretending. Some of it, the dinners, the Sunday mornings, your dumb movie nights, I like them. I like you. You liked the stability, I corrected. And mistook kindness for stupidity. You wore me like a coat you thought you could shed in the spring. That hit her. I saw it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, I replied. Then I stepped past her, toward a piece of abstract art splashed with charcoal and blood red. From behind, she said, is there anything I could say that would change how this ends? I didn't even turn around. It's already ended. And I left. That night, I slept with the windows open, a breeze on my face, and no ghosts in my bed. The lawsuit didn't go to court. 2 weeks before the hearing, her attorney reached out with a settlement. They wanted it quiet, she couldn't risk the public spectacle, not with her image barely clinging to relevance. The proposal? She would waive any spousal support. Return every disputed dollar. Publicly withdraw from all claims to the house. All I had to do was agree not to pursue damages or press fraud charges. My lawyer raised an eyebrow as he slid the papers across the table. She's bleeding, he said. This is a white flag with lipstick. I signed. Not out of mercy, but because I had already taken what mattered most, her narrative. She no longer controlled the story. No more curated pity posts. No, he couldn't handle a strong woman angle. The receipts spoke louder than her rebrands. The day it was finalized, she sent me one last message. No subject. Just, I hope you find someone who loves you for real. I hope I learn to be that kind of person someday. I stared at the words for a long time. Then deleted the email. Because healing, for me, didn't look like a reconciliation or even forgiveness. It looked like my name on a house deed without hers. A bank account that no longer bled. A closet filled with things I actually wore. A silence that wasn't heavy, just quiet. I rebuilt. The house came first. I painted the guest room. Removed every trace of her studio. Turned it into a music room not because I played, but because I liked the idea that something could fill the space with sound that wasn't manipulation. Then I took a trip. Just me. Florence, Italy. A week in a converted monastery turned Airbnb where I drank wine on cobblestone steps and listened to street musicians under a sky that didn't know her name. It wasn't dramatic. No epiphany. Just peace. The final twist? A year later, I hosted another party. Same backyard. Different crowd. My brother. My best friend. A few coworkers and their kids. I grilled lamb again, this time without the apron. Halfway through the evening, someone asked why I'd stopped talking about Zoe. I smiled. Because she was a symptom, not the story. They laughed, not quite understanding. That was fine. After everyone left, I sat alone on the deck. A breeze ran through the trees. Distant dogs barked. Someone was burning wood down the block, the scent of ash and pine hung in the air. I looked at the house. Mine now. In every way. And I realized something. Revenge was never about destruction. It was about reclaiming the version of me she tried to erase and making damn sure he never disappeared again.